All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and jump in and get started today. Thank you so much for those that are joining us for today's FMIS 101 webinar. I'll be your host, Dallin Dastrup, as we're going to be going through some best practices and some self-helps within the program of Fleet360. Joining me today is Nathan Schafer. Nathan is one of our trainers and one of our customer success managers here at RTA. He has spent about 25 years in the industry and is actually a former RTA user. So he led an award-winning fleet before coming to RTA, making some changes there, and now because he's just awesome and has the experiences that he's bringing with him to be able to help lead other fleets into success. Uh, Nathan does also provide client training. And so for those that are interested in learning more about Fleet 360 and using this tool to your best advantage, he is going to be one of the guys that you can call. As I mentioned, I'm Dallin Dastrup. I've been with RTA here for about 8 years. And so running just about everything from sales to customer service, customer success. And now really it's my goal and my end purpose to work with fleets such as yourself to truly understand the pains that currently exist in the industry and then build better solutions to help your teams and help your fleet succeed. Some of the things that we're going to be talking about today, talking about understanding your FMIS. We realize that not everybody that's joining us today has an existing fleet management system or doesn't have an effective existing fleet management system. And so we are going to be talking about some of those benefits that come universally, and then more specifically, how to streamline communications using Fleet 360 through options like our shop scheduler, our part request module, and the resource center or self-help tools. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass the ball over to Nathan to get us started.
Well, I appreciate the kind words and introduction, Dallin. Welcome, everybody. So let's just jump right in, right, and talk about what is an FMIS. So a fleet management information system is basically a centralized digital platform that we use to track, manage, and analyze all aspects of a fleet operation. All right. So an FMIS enables fleet operators to reduce cost, increase safety, extend vehicle life, and ensure regulatory compliance through, good data capture and good data mining to use that data for good decisions. All right. So in its basic form, kind of what Dallin was saying, all good FMISs should have some basics. And you can see here that some of those basics should be asset management, maintenance scheduling, work order management, technician productivity and efficiency, parts inventory management, and then billing. So assets, we talk assets, we use assets a lot here at RTA because it can be everything from vehicles to trailers to helicopters if you have those in your fleet, right? And so we don't want to limit it just to on-road vehicles. We also have a lot of fleets or fleet directors that manage facilities. So we definitely want to get, facilities operations, using a good FMIS as well so that they can get the same benefits. All right, so maintenance scheduling, right? We're going to talk about shop schedule a little bit today. So we want to talk, about scheduling that maintenance and getting that operation going. All right, she jumped ahead. I think she might be telling me to keep moving. Oh, thank you. Work order management is another one of those. So, being able to create, manage work orders electronically, being able to, assign technicians work electronically, reducing that paper, improving the communications in our shop, because that's all time savings, which is money savings, right? Which increases technician efficiency the more we can be electronic, right? Parts inventory management. Okay, so the systems hopefully can help you setting your mins maxes, getting those good reminders for stock orders, right? When we need to replenish stock, so we're not ever running out, and letting us know when we have slow or obsolescent parts, so that we can manage that inventory. And billing, right? Billing is becoming more and more important in today's fleets than I've ever seen. We want to capture what our costs are so that we can push that on to the customer so that we can keep the fleet operating in an efficient manner. So these are really some of the very basics that you should have in a good FMIS. And we're going to talk about a few things in Fleet 360 that can really help kind of set you apart with a good FMIS. All right, next slide. All right, unfortunately, today's fleets are still using a lot of old practices, right? And some of you might be doing this too, and that's okay, right? Like it just takes time to adopt. But think about, we see a filing cabinet, right? A lot of you guys are still using paper. If you're using paper work orders, I'm just telling you right now, you're behind the curve. All right. If we're using paper parts requests, you're behind the curve. Using paper not only slows things down, but it requires somebody to fill this out, and then it requires somebody, if you're putting that information into the FMIS, to do that as well. So you're doubling work, right? And that increases time, which increases costs. So if you're looking for that low-hanging fruit to try to be more efficient and lower cost, like if leadership's saying, hey, we need to lower cost, look at what your paper practices are, because taking things from paper and starting to move them into your FMIS digitally will save you a ton of time and money. All right. So as we start, capturing that information and that data in our FMIS, what do we do with it? Don't make it the digital filing cabinet like we were with paper, right? Don't fill out the paper, put it in the filing cabinet, and leave it in the back room and never touch it again. Okay, if you're using an FMIS, the whole objective is to put good data in so that we can pull the data out, right? We want to know how we're doing, how, keeping score, right? That's why there's a scoreboard here. We don't know how we're doing if we're not keeping score. All right, if you're not pulling the data out to measure performance, we don't know how we're doing. Okay, so one of the big things we always tell people is good data in, good data out. You've heard that a million times, I'm sure. So we pull that data out to use it for things like measuring performance. How are we doing? Are we being efficient? Are we lowering costs? Are we setting a standard so that next month we can see if we've improved or declined, right? So that's like number one of data management. So assessing competitiveness, right? If you are, looking at your technician efficiencies, making that a game in the shop, like, hey, this guy's efficiency's way better than this guy's, right? Like, make it competitive. Identifying trends. If you've been running reports on repair histories and shop activities for a while and watching those trends, you're basically doing predictive maintenance, right? So before AI, predictive maintenance became a thing in the last couple of years. If you were running those reports and watching the trends, you were doing this years ago, okay? Establishing a culture of continuous improvement. If we can pull that data out and we share that data amongst the fleet, right? Our technicians, our shop managers, parts clerks, we can see what the benchmark is. We can see where they're going month to month, right? So pulling the data out to do that is key, all right? Making informed decisions. So not only looking at, data for maybe asset replacement, maybe stock levels in parts, right? It could be maybe our technicians need training on a certain job, right? If we're pulling that data out and we see that the technicians are struggling or taking a really long time on a certain job code, right? We can make informed decisions on where we invest money in training. We have the data to back us up when we go to leadership to ask for more money for replacement. Or maybe we need more technicians, right? You can do all of these things with the data that you pull out of your FMIS, all right? And then obviously creating a database of usable stats, right? So your baseline KPIs and metrics, right? We start pulling those out. We start seeing the trend month to month, and then we use that to make decisions. All right, next slide. All right, so as we start to use the data or we're putting the data in, right? We talked about good data in, good data out. It's very, very important to use standardization, right? Now, whether you're using NAFA class codes or you've created your own class codes or you're using APWA class codes, I don't care what you're using, just use something and make it standard, right? Make sure everybody's using the same code set, that we're putting all the data in a standardized way, because when we pull those reports, it's gonna make a difference, right? And on the second part down where standardization matters, you can see Chev, Chevy, Chevrolet, okay? So if I'm pulling a report out, right, and I say, I wanna see this repair on all of our Chevrolets, okay? I get my data and I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, this is awesome. I run numbers and I create some, information to present. And then I make the presentation and somebody says, well, I thought we had like 100 of these Chevrolets and I only see 75, right? So then you go back and start looking and you're like, oh, yeah, somebody put some Chevs in, somebody put Chevy in, right? So if you're not standardizing the information you're putting in, it will affect the data you're pulling out, okay? So standardization is a big one. Repair code analysis, again, VMRS codes, if you're not using them, I would highly suggest them. Okay, it's a national code set, how we track repairs in the shop. Invaluable data when we pull that out at the end of the month to see common repairs, repair times, how long stuff's taking. It really can identify pain points in your shop and smooth out shop operations if we're pulling this out and making good decisions on training. Maybe jobs that are taking a long time that we can see. Maybe it's a parts issue. But if we're not running that report, we're looking at this data, it's hard to tell some of that stuff. All right. All right, so VMRS, right? I talked about that a little bit on the last slide. This is a national code set for applying shop codes and tracking maintenance in your shop operations. This was a code set developed back in the 70s by TMC, which is ATA, American Trucking Association. And it's really tracking what our repairs are, repair types, comeback codes, work accomplished, we can codify basically every aspect of the shop operation so that we can run reporting and see exactly how we're doing in the shop, whether the technicians are being efficient, what jobs we're doing, how many jobs of that job we did for the month, average labor times and costs. So if our labor times start to increase month to month, we can start looking into that. And I'll be honest, I used this religiously, right, to see how our shop operation was going. It helped me identify issues with parts. It helped me identify issues with technician training. Even if you set an SRT or a standard repair time and the technicians aren't hitting those initially, right, because we didn't, it still will help you understand what the averages are and how much time you're spending on certain things. Okay, this will even point out all of a sudden you're doing, I'll throw one out for us, AC compressors, right? It seemed like every spring, summer, AC compressors on a certain police car started going through the roof. And if you have that police car, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it helped me see those trends and identify what was going on. And then I could dig into that stuff, right? And go back and see, is it the compressor we're using? Is it just the system on that particular vehicle? And it really helps, identify some of this stuff. Another issue, right? We had a long-time battery manufacturer we were using. All of a sudden, I started seeing the trends where we were starting to do batteries way more often than we used to, right? So I call the vendor of the battery and I say, hey, what's going on? And they go, oh yeah, we switched manufacturers. So if you're watching these and you're pulling those reports and watching these trends, you can really start to dig in and identify issues long before, all of a sudden the end of the year, you blow your parts budget out of the water or your repair budget. So again, codifying, standardization, it's a great tool to get that information out. All right, data mining. Okay, data is like the buzzword in fleet the last probably 10 or 15 years because it's becoming so much more prevalent, right? It's coming from everywhere. Now you can see the graph here. We've got telematics, fuel, accounting or ERP, HR systems, all kinds of stuff that you guys are pulling data in, right? And you guys are logging into like 10 different systems a day to try to keep track of all this data. Through some integrations, your FMIS should be pulling that data in and being a centralized, place for you. I know our integrations are getting better and better every day, it seems like. So we are really a central login where you can start to see a lot of this data. All right, so good FMIS should be a good centralized point where you're logging into that and seeing the things that you need to see. All right. All right, so I'm going to talk about the challenges that you guys are facing, and then we're going to hand it off to Dallin to talk about some of the options in Fleet360 that can help make these challenges a little bit easier for you. All right, first one, shop workflow. Okay, I haven't been in a shop yet that's got this completely figured out. Some work better than others, but technicians usually are overloaded. They're usually managing multiple work orders at a time, right? You got time-sensitive requests, those people that show up that may have priority. Let's think, police and fire for some of our government fleets. When those guys show up, it's usually a drop what we're doing and make sure they get back out because it's a critical, critical service. And that throws scheduling right out the window, right? And so think about, how can we lay out scheduling for our technicians or by the bays, to make this easier for us. Now, some of the things that we would do at the city would, we had dedicated police and fire technicians. So if a fire truck showed up, that technician was the one that went out and worked on it, right? If police department showed up, we had the technician that would stop what he was doing and make sure that that was taken care of. Uh, but that allowed for us to schedule other work, preventive maintenance, oil changes, other walk-ins, to a handful of other technicians so that we weren't interrupting shop operations when police or fire showed up. So that's one of the things that we did. I think Dallin's going to show you some things with Shop Scheduler that can help you do exactly that.
Yeah, and I do want to hit on one of those topics that you brought up, Nathan. I mean, with unlimited resources, we have the ability to have identified and isolated techs for individual purposes, even individual customers or departments, where they can grab those jobs as they come in. With unlimited resources, I can also have somebody within an FMIS that is specifically, this is your one role within the program to keep the schedule. This is your one role to see when repair requests come in, decide is it something we're doing today, tomorrow, when is it not necessary at all, and that's
Right.
the full accompaniment of your role. But the resources are not unlimited, and so
Right.
making these practices not only available, but making them easy enough and intuitive enough to be able to just pick up the ball where it lands and run with it is kind of what we're trying to do here with RTA Fleet 360. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the shop scheduler, which is one of these tools that's not just a patch, not just a band-aid, but a full-blown tool that really should be helping not only our current customers but future customers organize those shops. And there's a little bit of multiple roles going on here where I may have a calendar owner. I'm going to have my technicians that are on that calendar. I'm going to have my technicians helpers that may not be assigned to a specific work order or specific job to build their time toward that job, but they're the helper. They're the gopher. That's usually been my role when I, growing up would help my dad under his truck, as I was the one that handed him the wrong size wrench. Um, and so being able to have those roles kind of identified and isolated out, and then being able to see where do we have availability. As priorities come up, like you mentioned, something that we weren't planning on yesterday, who do I have available to take that on, or where do I have that can knock down a priority and make room right now? And so I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit of Fleet 360 right now. And
Well, and
this
while you're
is,
sharing,
yeah, go
Dallin,
ahead.
not to interrupt, sorry, I just, you'd said something and it just reminded me, a good FMIS gives everybody in the operation visibility of what's going on, right? Whether it's through shop scheduler or parts request or work orders that are being done. If we're using paper, we lose that visibility throughout the operation. So, we lose the efficiencies of somebody having to walk around and ask questions. If we have it all in our FMIS and it's visible to everybody, it's easy for anybody to log in and get access to the information they need quickly, right? So just wanted to bring that up because, something you said it brought that around.
Sure, and I know I'll touch on this a little bit in the next feature we go over, but it also increases accountability. It's
Sure.
one of those lessons that I learned years ago is if it's not written down, and again, like you mentioned, if it's not available for multiple people to see, it's like it never happened. And
Right.
so being able to use a tool like a shop scheduler where I'm going to have repair requests that are coming in, I have PMs that are coming due, I have DVIR failed lines that have happened today or yesterday, marking a vehicle down and unavailable. And so what I need to do as the person over the shop scheduler, whether that's my entire job or just part of my role today, I'm going to go in and look at today's date. I'm going to see who are my technicians that are working based on if I look at maybe some of my presets, being able to see who's on my first shift, who I want to view my details by the bay, what bay is available, because maybe my team jumps around and helps each other. So I need a space for this vehicle and or I need someone who's available to work on it. So being able to change and update those views is going to make a big difference for me from an organizational perspective. And I can jump in and see, okay, today's June 18th. Based on the texts that I have available today that are not on PTO or that are actually working and turning wrenches by wherever we're at 9:20 in the day, I've got three techs unavailable and one that is. And so coming in and scheduling and creating jobs is as easy as a double click. When I do select or when I choose, there we go, from the available options, I'm either going to select a direct job. This is going to be work orders that are already created, or work order lines, I should say, that are already created. I can see a full blown list of all vehicles currently expecting work. And when I select that vehicle, let's grab actually one that has a little bit of time on it there. There we go. I've got a 2012 Camry. I've got over 3 hours of work that needs to be done on this Camry, according to, like Nathan brought up earlier, the VMRS codes. Those job codes are going to help me understand when they're set up properly. I can't emphasize that enough. You got to do the work. When those job codes are set up properly, I know for this size of vehicle, based on the jobs that are going to be required, what's my estimated time to complete that job. Now we understand that things come up, but those are going to be my average times. Oh, I want to give me a heads up of how long should it take me to complete this work. Now, one of my favorite things about the shop scheduler, can you tell I'm going into salesperson mode now? One of my favorite things about it is it tells me the number of jobs that are expected to make up that 3.2 hours. And so jumping in, I can see, okay, for this time slot that I'm going to be grabbing, here are all those open jobs. Here's those 6 jobs. And if I scroll over just a little bit, what's my estimated time on each one of those jobs? So I can select one or two. I can select everything and say, okay, this vehicle's here. I don't want to miss something that's currently expected, whether it's a PM, maybe some of these are failed DVIR lines. Some of them are duplicates. I have this battery's been asked to be replaced multiple times now. I need to get on that. That's also going to help me, so I'm not actually performing that 1 hour service every time. I'll uh, what's the proper phrase? Multiple birds in one stone. There we go. And then from next, I can go ahead and choose to assign that to a bay, to a technician, and how long I'm going to be working on that. And so having all that available information is going to be step one. Outside of a job that's already expected or something that's outstanding, I do have my indirect jobs as well. This is a full customized list that your organization can go through and say what counts as an indirect job that's still applying to my productivity. I'm just not turning a wrench. I want to be able to check and see, okay, is my guy going to spend an hour doing vehicle washes? He's going to go out to the wash bay and bring in whichever police vehicles need to come in today. Are they running and doing a parts pickup? And this is scheduled. It's Monday morning. We're going to go and grab our parts that don't get delivered to us. And one of my favorites, how much time are we spending on training? Because we need to get updated according to our RTA compliance or whatever it is. I need to make sure that my team knows how to do what they need to do. And so selecting that option, adding time to it, and blocking off that calendar, that schedule, is going to just help me ensure that, again, I'm not double booking and I don't have emergencies coming up that I don't have a place for. And then lastly, the ability to add a job. This is going to be just like what Nathan brought up. Vehicle on fire, something comes in, vehicle's down. I need to get it back out on the road ASAP, or it just jumps to the top of my priority list. So being able to add a job specifically for a bell and be able to identify at that point what is the job code, what's the job information, and putting it on the schedule, how much time is going to be committed to it. Not only can I go through and select, say, I was looking at about 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. when I pulled that up a second ago, but the other option, like I said, when those emergencies come into play, I have a new DVIR down, marks that vehicle down for the day, and that's lost productivity for my fleet. I'm able to, should I need, grab, drag, and drop other jobs from other technicians or other times to the person that's ready to take it on right now. Or I need to take, these couple, move them down so that I can create a job or create time for the job that's coming up right now. Being able to use and view this shop scheduler shouldn't be difficult. We're trying to keep it as easy as possible, and it will continue to improve over time. Before this, not only can I see in a broad view all of my techs that are working right now, but for the technicians themselves that are using the paperless shop options and using RTA Mobile, they're going to be able to pull up their schedule right on their phone or right on their tablet, be able to pull up and see exactly what job am I supposed to be clocked into. They're basically looking exactly at this column right now for Rick. He'll be able to see, okay, I'm going to be spending the next couple hours on vehicle wash starting at 10 a.m. It's going to show up on his schedule, and he can then clock right into it. And so it's both sides of the accountability. It's here's our expectation. Here's what I'm supposed to be doing for each one of these times, and I can plan personally for that future. And then as I get to the end of my day and I clock off for my shift, I can always go back and do an audit to say, here's the things I got done, here's the things I didn't, and then we can push those things that still need to happen to tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a great tool. We used scheduling. Most shops try to use scheduling. It does just increase that efficiency and planning, for shop operations. So it's a great tool. If you're not using it, I would definitely look into it. Hopefully your FMIS has a scheduling tool. And we do link, we have a link for service requests we can put out there for operators to click on that and directly put, dates and times they'd like to bring their vehicle in, and you can schedule right from that, which is great. So kind of a full circle tool. It works really well. All right, challenge number 2, technician efficiency. Now, this is one that, I think a lot of fleets struggle with. Um, a big one I think is parts, because, typically the technician's either walking to the window, filling out a paper request, or, the operations just saying, hey, just go get the parts you need and bill them to your work order, right? Even though we have a parts clerk. And I will say you're losing technician efficiency if they're doing anything other than turning wrenches. So any additional things that you're asking them to do or leave their bay, they really are losing efficiencies. And we all have that technician that when they walk to the parts room, they've, stop and talk to 6 or 7 people on the way, and all of a sudden it's an hour and a half later. We all have one, I promise.
That never happens. I don't believe you.
Every shop's got one, I guarantee it. And so they get distracted very easily, and to a point where, we straight had to start locking the shop because people would walk in and interrupt our guy, right? So, anytime that we can reduce the technician from having to walk out of his bay or lose that focus, we're definitely impacting efficiency. So if parts are not being requested electronically, or we're not, having our parts clerk deliver parts to them, we're losing efficiencies. And it may seem minuscule, but it can really, really add up. So that's the big challenge. I know some of you guys are facing that. I'm gonna hand it back to Dallin and let him talk about a solution that we have in Fleet360.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nathan. So the solution that Nathan's talking about is part requests. Like he was bringing up, like he was mentioning, a software can only do so much, right? It's a great way to store data and promote best practices, but we can't physically make technicians do things a certain way. We can't make the parts personnel do things a certain way and count their inventory a certain way. But we're sure going to try. So part request is one of those options that really does promote best practices, not only because there is a specific step or a structure of operations that need to take place in order for this tool to work. But above that, we're going to get restrictions down to if it's enabled, and I'll throw that caveat on there. If it's enabled, this is not a forced feature. When enabled, the technician's not even able to close the work order until this process is fully complete. And through this process, we're going to bring in a brand new element of accountability. I mentioned a little bit earlier how accountability comes into play when we're talking about writing down um, and documenting certain practices and certain best practices, I should say. And so the ability to show and say, hey, this note was left, these details were requested, this job was started at this time, ended at this time, all those details that are now data. And it's going to lead back to what Nathan was talking about earlier, as far as gathering data and trying to make best practices based on that data, based on the standards that we set for ourselves. And so part request is no different from that. As I go through, let me share my screen here again. I'm going to wear a couple of different hats here for just a moment, starting off in the work order itself. So I'm a technician right now. I'm working on this truck, and based on the job assigned to me, I'm going to be replacing that battery. Now, where it comes and where we're trying to promote some best practices, better practices here, assuming, small assumption here, that I have my technicians are separate from my parts personnel, I'm going to get to the point where I need to request that this part is either delivered to me or made available to me because I, as Mr. Technician, am not allowed, hint, hint, not allowed in the parts store to go and grab and reorganize and stop and talk to people and leave my part at their bay. So having this line of accountability is really going to help me out. Where it comes into play here is this battery job. I'm able to go through as the technician and make a request for that part. I can request individual parts or multiples, and from here, I know that for my line number one, the battery job, linked in through my current existing parts store. If I know the part, it's sure going to help me quite a bit. If I don't know the part, there is a practice around that. I can go through and check the vehicle's history. I should have access to all that as a technician anyway. Even if it's just read only, I want to go and see what parts have been placed previously. So I'm either using the same one, or like we talked about earlier, we're looking at failures. Maybe that's not the part I want to use anymore because I'm actually replacing it often. And so be able to go in and either type in an unknown part or grab that part that I'm looking for. I know that I need one, and I can actually see right now we do actually have plenty on hand. So I'm not going to be stalling on this work order and trying to jump to another one. I know that this part should be made available to me fairly quickly, and I'm going to go ahead and submit that. Now, as I go through and I check that request, the accountability side from the technician, I know that this request is still pending. I have all the data, all the information. If it comes to the point where actually I found the part or that turned out not to be the part, I can always delete that request, which is going to delete it on the other side. But for right now, what I've done is I've backed up, I've taken a step, and I've thrown the ball to my parts store. Now, taking off my technician hat, and jumping into my parts and procurement specialist role, there's a whole new screen for specifically parts requests. This is going to be coming in for my entire facility, and I have this organized down to be any of those requests that are coming in that are not currently closed. So out for delivery is going to be an option that I've actually posted to the work order, and it hasn't been received yet. I'll go over that in just a second. Pending is just exactly like the one. Actually, yep, that's the one that we just put in a second ago. Oh, might need to refresh there. From here, though, I'm able to see, and I'm able to look and see, is this a known part? Is it an unknown part? I don't know. The part's orange. And I need to go through and create a PO, maybe do some research on the part side, really dig my heels in there and find out what is that part that I need, make the change on the request and send it over to the technician. From here, I'm also able to see what's on hand. The actions that are available to me are going to be to either create a purchase order and go through that process, which is automatically through this nice little mediation screen. I'm not in the part screen. I'm not in the purchase order screen. I'm also not in the work order screen. I'm meeting in the middle. And so from here, if I create a PO, all the data is already ready for me, and it's going to automatically set. And the system's pretty smart to be able to say, for this work order and this work order line, here's the part that I'm requesting. Everything's going to match together on that PO. So when the purchase order is received, I get the notification, I get the alert that the part's here specifically for this work order in order to post. The other option I'm going to have is just like it shows here, I have three on hand. And so I'm able to post to my work order, pulling from whichever bin has those available. There we go. And then as that updates, there we go. As that updates, and I think this is actually a different one, but I can show this one as well. Taking off my parts hat, I've shown that it's been delivered to the tech. Whether that means, as Nathan was saying, parts person is leaving the parts store, taking that filter, that battery, whatever it is, over to the technician's bay, or if I'm that technician and coming up to my parts store, parts has to show it as delivered. Technicians are now going to have to come back in and show received. And so that just completing that full round, that full turn of accountability. Parts has their end covered, technician has their end covered. As I receive, it's going to automatically post to that work order, and that job is now able to be closed. This can all obviously still be happening as well. If I'm using options like paperless shop and I'm clocked into my job, it's going to help me as a technician remember, here's the job I need to clock into, clock back into it, receive the part, and I can go ahead and start working and posting. But the idea, the concept around trying to promote best practices, because again, that line could not have been closed until I received the part, and the part request couldn't be closed until I either received it through the PO or posted it to the work order as the part procurement specialist. So everything being documented, now I have an audit trail. I have a way to go back and see what has been requested, what has been declined that's been requested. Either it was the wrong part. Now I know I need to train my techs a little bit better. Or if that's really not their role, they don't need to know these part numbers. I'm going to go in and I'm going to look and see how descriptive are they being in their request? Is the parts are the parts store getting the information that they need to make an educated or intelligent choice of which part they need to order? It's also going to help me know worst case scenario after that fact. Maybe I did order a part and it ended up being the wrong part. How can I better that practice? It's all documented. So all the information, all the accountability rests on the shoulders of the system. And so our FMIS is going to help promote that.
Yeah, it's a great tool, and I'll say this, I literally talked to a fleet yesterday, and the parts clerk was saying, I get a parts order and the part shows up and I have no idea what work order it belongs to. And I said, well, how do you know when to order a part? And he says, oh, the technician just tells me. And I'm like, so it's verbal? There's nothing written down or anything? And he's like, yeah, it's just verbal. And I was like, oh, okay. So I walked through the parts request process within Fleet360 and just said, hey, this is a great tool, that can give you guys some accountability, one, obviously, but two, it's documenting, what work order that part belongs to. So when it shows up in your receive, you know exactly where it goes. So, you know, it's a huge increase in efficiency simply from this parts clerk not having to walk out and start asking all the technicians, hey, did you order this part? Was it you? Because if it's verbal, I might not even remember who it was that ordered it, right? And if I've got 10 techs in a shop, that's going to take me a while to figure out. So,
If it
just
was
little,
verbal, I might not remember that it was verbal.
exactly.
What are you
And
talking about? You never asked me to order that.
yeah, maybe I didn't order the part. So, all these little, tools and things really can help you guys with accountability, efficiency. It's written down, right? So it is all a good practice. So, all right, let's talk about challenge number 3. I like challenge number 3 because I run into people that are so polar opposites with this. It's crazy. So if we think about self-sufficiency, right? You run into an issue, whether it's a repair or you're trying to work in your FMIS, and you have a question because you're not sure what to do. Some people will literally stop what they're doing and walk away and go find somebody and start asking questions, right? And that's okay. That's just how some people handle things. Other people like me are very stubborn and they want to, be self-sufficient and figure things out on their own and not ask for help, right? And maybe that's a guy thing. We don't ask for directions. We don't ask for help. I don't know. But, within Fleet360, we've built out a great resource center that you have a lot of different options to get answers, with a couple clicks of your mouse. So whether it be tutorials, step-by-step instructions, videos, lots of different things that can keep your people, working, which is efficient, right? If they have to stop and go ask questions, then we're breaking them down and it's not efficient. So having those self-help tools right within the software really can keep efficiencies and things moving forward, whether it's new employees or people that are doing things for the first time, right? Or maybe it's something they do once a month and it's been a month and they don't remember how to
Right.
do
It's
it.
just been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So, lots of really good resources, within Fleet360 that can keep you guys operating and moving quickly, right? So I'll let Dallin show you guys that a little more.
Yeah, and the tool that Nathan's talking about, I would say, is criminally underutilized currently. But it's okay. We're fixing that now. The tool that he's talking about is our resource center. Now, this is a tool that's built into the program, and the idea behind it is number one, yes, we want people to be self-sufficient. We want them to take initiative and take advantage of tools that are available. The other side of it, though, is that as fantastic as our support team is, and I love each and every one of them, we have a finite number, and it's not always easy to get answers to your questions right away. And so being able to have an additional resource that's available, maybe it's after hours, maybe it's something that I've asked 2 or 3 people and they weren't able to give me the help that I needed, whether it was internal or I went to my support team at RTA. I'm preparing for a training that Nathan's going to come out on site, and he's going to help me understand how to I don't know, set up an appropriate PM schedule. That's something that's going to take a couple of days because I'm really trying to take advantage of the resources available. I want to understand my fleet, X, Y, and Z, whatever the reason. Sometimes we need to understand the system better. Sometimes we need to understand the industry better. And so tools that are built in and tools that allow us to really take advantage of that are going to be options like the RTA Resource Center that's currently up in the top right corner and available to every single user that logs in. Now, this tool, it really fits any learning style, I'll call it. And so whether you're a visual learner, an audio learner, a hands-on learner, you like to consume knowledge, you're that person. Now, I've seen these people that just have 5 million tabs open on their internet browser at all times, and they want to have bookmarks for everything that they could possibly do so they could go back and jump in and find the solution they're remembering. And so the way that this resource center works is as Nathan mentioned, first option is we have guided tours. These are going to be the ability where I'm a hands-on learner. I want to jump in within my program and learn something like, hey, maybe I'm a new parts person. It's a very basic understanding, and I haven't had time to take the RTA training yet. I want to learn within Fleet360, how do I add a part? And so I have my little assistant that's going to pop up, and without having to call into a trainer, without having to wait for next month for the next training session, I can actually get started in right away and go through to, oh, click the wrong button there. I picked the one that's going to throw a fit. Let's grab a different one. Adding a vehicle. There we go. It's actually going to go through and point and navigate me through to show exactly the step-by-steps of clicking on my asset file to pull up my grid, hit the plus button. It's going to give me step by steps to go through and actually create my first asset. Now, this is live in the system. So not only am I learning, but I'm actually progressing one step closer to more complete data as I do so. And so taking the steps and getting that hands-on experience is going to start training your mind, training your hands to know where within the program to look to become a Fleet 360 expert. Outside of the guided tours, if you're not really that hands-on person, you like to consume knowledge and a Google perspective, or you like to do search and research. And so being able to go through the RTA knowledge base, basically the RTA Google, the RTA Ask Jeeves for those old folks, and be able to go in and say, yeah, I need to fully understand a replacement schedule. I need to understand how to set up and configure PMs. This is going to be my how-to documentation for nearly everything within Fleet 360. It's also going to be a great way to learn what's new and what's upcoming in the program because it's all documented out. And we were talking about accountability. You can hold us accountable to make sure, well, here in the documentation, here's what it says. And then when you call me and say that it acts differently, I get after Nathan because he wrote the documentation. Keeps us all
Some
involved.
of them,
Some of
not
them,
all of them.
fair. All right, we're passing the buck again. The other side I'm able to see, as Nathan talked about, being able to jump in and see videos or tutorials of Fleet 360. This is one that I'm actually really excited about because each individual user, oh, might be because my screen's full size right now. Let's see if let's see. It was just working this morning.
It sure doesn't like it now.
It doesn't like me now. I'm not sure what's going on there. Never had that one. But essentially, the way that I can jump in and see a progress bar for each primary field or each primary area within RTA, like my assets, like my work orders, my parts, and being able to, by my role, get consume the little 3 to 5 minute helper videos to help me understand Fleet 360. Outside of the tutorials, we constantly have announcements coming out from RTA. This is going to be our new features, sometimes including videos. It's going to be, yep, all updates. If I scroll back even further and be able to help, hey, look at that. We have new warranty tracking capabilities. Be able to watch the video and consume what's new and what's upcoming with RTA. Make sure that, again, each and every individual user is going to have access to those. And so when I see something new, that's probably the first place I'm going to check and try to understand what's the best practice around this new tool. And then lastly, kind of one of my favorites, I'll be honest, it is my favorite, is the capability to use the RTA Fleet bot to help answer questions. This, if you've ever used an AI tool like ChatGPT or anything like that, this is a response where I'm not necessarily waiting. It's not a chat with a person. This is my AI tool. This is my bot that's going to help me go through and understand not only elements of RTA. Let's see how to add part. So maybe my link wasn't working. So I'm going to get the how-to from here. And then it's going to link back to those knowledge base files. Another one that I have, maybe it's not just simply the RTA system itself, but one of the things we talk about here at RTA is how the experience is really what makes the biggest difference between Fleet 360 and other programs. Part of that is because we have, I think it's up to 350 or so years of experience. Guys like Nathan or people like Nathan who have run fleets in the past that are now operating as consultants, as trainers, as helpers, even customer support agents here at RTA to help understand the industry. Where are we coming from? Where we're going? This is going to be one of those fleet managers' best friends as it comes to I need to understand my industry. And it's hard because I don't know what I don't know. And sometimes I don't even know how to ask. So a question that that's come up to me before is we want to start tracking our replacements. We want to start tracking warranties. I brought it up earlier. We want to better our PM schedule. Maybe it's not great in the system that I inherited, or I even set it up, but I've learned a lot in the past couple of years, and I want to go through and revamp it. So something like, and it's just because it's AI, I'm just going to ask it like I'm asking another person. I'm starting to track my replacements for my assets. What's the best way to plan out a replacement schedule? Now, part of this could be within RTA, and it's going to say, oh, you're going to go to this screen, go to this field, and you're going to configure this is how you set up a 13-year replacement schedule. That's great, but I actually want to understand the purpose and the principle behind it in the industry. And so while I was talking, that bot went ahead and looked through all of our knowledge base, if you've ever listened to our podcast, any blog that's ever been put out, trainings that we've done, and it's going to compile an understandable list for me of how to start plotting out a replacement schedule. You'll notice nowhere in here does it say click or enter details. We're not talking about Fleet 360 right now. We're talking about universally fleets. What do I need to go through? What do I need to consider? My operating costs, my changing needs, my total cost of ownership. Now, if I want to dive in deeper and say, okay, total cost of ownership, I want to understand that even better. How can I find total cost of ownership inside of Fleet 360? Now it's going to tell me which reports to run or where to be looking. That report is off. What do I need to do to go into that report? Or what data do I need to set before viewing that report to see my total cost of ownership more accurately? And it's going to help me go through and say, well, have you checked these fields? Now we're getting into the field areas. But being able to get access to a tool like this, not to necessarily put Nathan out of business, but having access to a tool like this really, as we were talking about, creates that era, that mindset of self-sufficiency. So I can go in and get access to the tools, the information, and the help that I need. And if you can't tell, I mean, it's usually what's the number one reason people don't ask questions? Because they're embarrassed to, right? I'm embarrassed to admit that I don't know this, or it's it's hard to ask. I'm not sure who to ask. This tool is always available, and nobody's watching. It's okay. Ask questions, and it's because it's AI. I can go through and say, "Cool, explain it to me like I'm 10," and I can get a more simplified version of that answer. So being able to get help and being able to access those resources in a timely manner at any time is going to be a huge benefit to any user, not just entry level or full admin advocate.
Yeah, Dallin, you touched on something that I just want to reiterate, and it's, something that I love about working at RTA, and that is, setting ourselves apart from the rest of the industry, and that is, the experience with the fleet operations that we have here, right? And I think with some of the new hires in the last couple of weeks, we're probably hitting that 450 to 500 years of experience running fleets, right? And I'm watching it make really, really good developments in the product too, right? It's coming from fleet best practice and analytics and things like that are key things that you want to see in a fleet operation. So it's one of the absolute things I love about RTA. It's, I think, the thing that is separating us from the others that are out there. And I feel like we're just getting started. I think the future is bright with where we're going. And man, I'm excited to be a part of it.
Love it. All right. Just as a reminder, as we're closing up here, we'll get to questions in just a second. But as I mentioned, and as Nathan was talking about the resources and the capabilities that we have within these four walls here at RTA, one is the Fleet Success Playbook. Feel free, we'll leave this on the screen for just a second. If anybody has not received or hasn't ordered their free copy of the Fleet Success Playbook, feel free to scan that QR code, pull out your phone right now and scan it. Like I said, we send these out for the betterment of Fleet. It's our goal here at RTA to help Fleet succeed. And this step-by-step guide from things like intentional culture and trying to improve the atmosphere within our shops down to best practices from industry experts like Steve Saltzgiver, like Nathan Schafer, and be able to rely on those experiences that have already come before us. That's wisdom, is taking knowledge from experience, right? And so the experience is there in that book. Feel free to grab your copy.
And I will say, just to add to that, we don't care if you are an RTA customer. Like, we're here to help the industry as a whole. And that is even tapping into the fleet knowledge that we have here. So, even in the last week, I've had two people reach out to me that are not RTA customers, asking for some assistance, and that's what we do. We want to help better the industry as a whole. Again, we don't care if you use RTA or a customer of RTA. We're honestly here just to help and get you guys running in the best way possible.
Along with that, the other side, again, especially if you're not an RTA customer, one of those resources that we provide is the Fleet Success Show podcast. For those longtime listeners, you'll probably know Josh, Mark, Steve, those guys that are on there. They're not peddling RTA. We'll come up some of our experiences that we've had, but primarily the purpose of this podcast is to help mechanics, to help admins, to help better our fleet world. Our industry is one that's not highly enough recognized. And so we're trying to put the recognition back on that industry and best practices as a whole. Same thing, go ahead and scan that QR code to start listening. And you really don't have to be an RTA customer there. We're just trying to help everybody. Lastly, our RTA consulting, like Nathan said, we probably need to update this slide, make sure we have the accurate count, but over 350 years of experience between all of our our consultants, our trainers, our support managers. RTA consulting is available whether you're an RTA customer or not. If you just have best practices or better practices that you're trying to implement within your shop, need to know how to get from A to B. Learn from those industry experts, run an audit of your program, your practices. Let us help you be able to get to the point where you're the best fleet that you can be. And lastly, wanted to go through some of the questions that have currently come in. And as a reminder, feel free to throw any last or remaining questions either in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll try to address those as we can. If there is anybody that would like personal contact or follow-up to learn more about Fleet360, to learn more about consulting, the Fleet Success Playbook, anything like that, feel free to throw in a private question or email us anytime. I believe... Well, you can always email at support@rtafleet.com for any question, and sales@rtafleet.com if you want to learn more about Fleet360. Right. Starting off, some of the questions from our chat. Talking about the shop scheduler, is this just a visual interface? Yes. Oh, and it looks like we had. Thanks, Matt. That's correct. There's a visual interface there. Is there future development to attach photos to a request? Oh, to a part request to know what the part is, and the part department needs to do research. Yes, that is a future development idea, Justin. I love that idea. It's been on our roadmap for a little bit. It's always fun to try to plot out what's most important when planning and configuring future versions or future features to the system. And so as the part request comes back around, that's one of the first things we're going to address is the ability to both from mobile and then from a computer as well, attach an image, or even we actually want to take it that next step and be able to do a full audio, any attachment, audio, video, things like that.
There was a question above those, Dallin, before you get moving too far. It says, is the shop scheduler is not an option available in Classic, only Fleet360?
I'm sorry, I did miss that. Yes, Earl. Shop Scheduler, there is a version of Shop Scheduler that's available in Classic only at certain tiers. I will be the first to admit that hasn't been touched in probably 15 years as far as updates. The Shop Scheduler in Fleet360 is a complete standalone on its own. They don't link or connect together. And any that have used the Shop Scheduler, the version in Classic, will jump in and see it is vastly improved. It was kind of one of those we'd rather just make the chicken than start with the egg. There's a question, what's the cost difference between RTA Classic and Fleet360? It's not a super complicated answer, but it is kind of a two-part answer. If you are using RTA Classic hosted by RTA, there is no cost difference. If you have hosting systems and you're logging in through a remote desktop protocol to access your RTA Classic system, you can always contact our support team or our customer success team. We can help you log into Fleet360 because you currently have access. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. If you're logging into RTA on using that web browser or using the remote desktop protocol, you currently have access to Fleet360 using your same login, same information. There is no cost difference. If you are not attached to the hosted version of RTA at all, it's a localized version. That question, as far as cost, there will be a cost difference, and we need to work that out with our sales team. Feel free to reach out to us at sales@rtafleet.com to find out exactly what that cost would be. It's all broken down by the number of assets that you are tracking in your program. Justin brought up a question about personalized or customized changes in Fleet360 that are specific to your team. That's something we'll have to talk about. I know the Fleet bot and the Resource Center doesn't automatically trigger or drag to those. If they're depending on what those features are, there definitely can be customizations, things like settings, system switches, details like that, that it will automatically draw to. But if there are full-blown modules or full-blown custom features that don't exist anywhere in our knowledge base, we would have to train the Resource Center to look at those resources specific to your organization. And we can go ahead and do that. That's not something that is difficult or hard to do. We've done it for a few customers. If you need access to that, feel free to reach out to me anytime or shoot that into support, and support can get it to me. Make sure that those are being seen, Justin. Thank you for bringing that up. Will Fleetbot eventually be able to access the data on our site and provide insight into that data and trend? I think this is kind of a continuation. Yep, we can do that as long as we have a data source to point the resource center to that can be trained specific to your organization. That shouldn't be a
I
problem at
think
all.
I think on another level to Justin's question, we are looking at embedded AI tools that will, look at data and identify trends and things like that. It's outside of the FleetBot, because the AI predictive maintenance thing is such a hot
I see.
topic. Yeah, I think that's where he's leaning to. So
Gotcha.
yes, Justin, eventually that's going to happen. We are looking at that currently. So um, I would say in the next little while. I don't know a date, but I know they're looking at
Say, don't you dare say a date. I'm going to be held to it.
it. I try
Yes,
not
now,
to.
now I understand the question better, Justin. Yes, that is on the roadmap as an idea. The tool that we use has limited capabilities for that right now. We're waiting for that tool to be enhanced in order to do that properly. We don't want to deliver something half-baked there. Jonathan, can we get a copy of the webinar? Absolutely. Everyone who registered for this webinar should get a follow-up email that's it's going to come through and give you details and highlights, and it's also something that can be shared out to other team members. Thank you so much for asking. Before we get too far into this, just wanted to bring up and mention our team, for those that are in the government space, our team is going to be at GFX next week in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so please feel free, come by, shake hands, give a hug. I'll take a hug. Uh, and if you'd like to learn more or see a customized demo just specific to your questions, I'll be there at the booth pretty much all day. Our team will be dispersed out through various classes, and we're running a few of those keynotes, a few of those examples throughout the GFX meet. So please feel free to stop by, look for our giant pillar. Can the shop scheduler show a tech assigned to a repair that takes multiple days? Does it show the techs are busy for those days on the one work order? Yes. So when you go and plot out the start time and the end time, you should be able to select those dates and times. If it does carry over to the next day, it should appear on your tech schedule the next day. The other side would be essentially to create the job. Say you only have 2 hours left in today. I'm going to put 2 hours on today. I'm going to go through and add a job to tomorrow as well and finish up that time. That's probably a great feedback item, Craig, that if we have a switch or a checkbox that says continue to next day, it's not quite to that level of sophistication yet, but I think it's a good idea. I'm sure jobs, obviously, jobs do take multiple days to complete as needed. Perfect. And then jumping into our Q&A as well, will the parts request require the technician use a proper name for a part versus a shop name? Ron, that's a great question. So when the technicians are making a request for parts, they can use any existing part names and part numbers that are currently on file as they start typing in or typing in a description. We're searching description, part name and title, vendor details like that to help benefit that search. But if the technician is not trained on the parts, which is totally understandable, they can, excuse me, they can put in any bit of information that they know about that part, description, title, um, year, make, and model of the vehicle and the job they're performing. They can put in a description and let the parts people go ahead and do the research and uh, find what part they're looking for. And the other question from Ron, can we send work orders to technicians via their cell phones versus a tablet? What are the pros and cons of either? So the RTA mobile application works on mobile devices or phones and tablets. It is the same on both. The interface is slightly different just because the tablet you have a little bit more real estate, but really when it comes down to it, that's about it. There's no pro or con to either. It's the same application on both sides. The RTA mobile app is able to be configured through the personal settings to receive notifications. To receive notifications as, and one of those options is when jobs are assigned. And so it does bing and lets you know on your phone that that has been received. Thank you everyone so much for your time today. I appreciate it. And again, this should be going out and following up. Come and see us at GFX next week. And in the coming months, we are going to be holding our RTA Connect Users Conference in Las Vegas this year in September. For those RTA users and non-users that want to come and learn more about Fleet360, feel free to register and we can get you those details. Again, I'm Dallin Dastrup, Nathan Schafer. Thank you so much and hope you all have a great day.